I'm always looking for special traits when I'm scouting prospects, and I think Kennedy Chandler's speed and first step is certifiably a special trait. Like, he is so unbelievably fast from a standstill, and he couples that initial burst of speed with great acceleration to finish plays, as we're going to continue to see. Like, this burst is the stuff of high level advantage creators. The guys in the league right now like Ja and Trey, and many others of past years. This is pretty wild. It's like the ability to just like win off one little hang dribble. It's not only winning initially here, getting tie, turning and chasing, but he's able to keep his dribble, keep his speed at the end, and flick this little floater, a little scoop over Oscar. But the catch is obviously that Kennedy Chandler is very small. He measured at like 6 feet in shoes, and as you probably know, it is a steep curve for guys that small to make the league. Like, even if you have a guy who can burn a big at any time off of the dribble, the players in the NBA are larger and faster and stronger and can jump higher. In the NBA, this might not be an easy layup, even though Kennedy shows off great craft with the offhand reverse. This player might be a quicker defensive center who can swat that off the backboard, or there might be a more astute help defender here covering that. But I think despite the inherent, very significant obstacles for a small player, I'm a big fan of Kennedy Chandler for this draft. I think he's probably underrated, underdiscussed. And it's not just that speed and that burst, but it's how functional he is with his use of that speed and tools. And I think the place that this probably is most evident is his off-ball game, where I feel like you don't really see like small guards off-ball games discussed, but Kennedy's is amazing. Like, his cuts are lightning fast. Like, he doesn't really even look like he's gonna move. Like, he's kind of leaning forward, but he instantly bursts into that hole. Against like a pretty set defense as well. Like, this defender turns his head for 1 second and he's gone. Kennedy scores a layup. You cannot take your eyes off of him for 1 second. Just the way he can shake defenders off the ball. Like, it looks like he's playing wide receiver. Like, tracking him off the ball looks awfully miserable. Not only the speed, but the ability to plant and change directions. He eventually ends up finishing this play. He loses his handle and pulls up. But point being that the off-ball stuff is really just amazing. Like, as a guy who in like early offense semi-transition can leak out and get behind the defense, and then at this point there's almost nothing that a defense without a great rim protector can do. And this is also where Kennedy's passing shines. He's not an incredible passer. He certainly misses windows, and his size, I'd say, hampers him. But when he's able to attack a tilted defense on a cut or a secondary pick and roll, and he's like really able to hit tight windows. Like, this is not an easy pass. There is a defender basically right here, but he still has the balls to hit this pass instead of maybe a lower EV skip out here, because layup passes are so valuable. And again, we see him like working backdoor off of his teammates' drives. His cutting instincts, just within free flow, not necessarily running plays, are awesome. Like, he's so good picking his spots. And again, we see another great pass here when he's able to contort in the air and use his threat of a finisher to draw defenders and pass. It's really, really amazing stuff, the way he's able to move off the ball. And I think there's some hope for the off-ball shooting because, obviously if you can sag way off of him, it kind of lowers his threat level. And as we'll get to, Kennedy's an all right shooter. Again, like decent volume, free throw is concerning. But I value the volume a lot more. Like, he doesn't have the greatest shooting projection in the world. But he definitely has shown the ability to like set and fire off of movement from range, as we'll see, and that's going to be definitely the most important skill. I think like shooting as a swing skill is probably overrated and like talked about for too many prospects, but for Kennedy, I think it like truly is, as it is for many really small players that make it in the league are just unbelievable shot makers. This is another clip of him absolutely shaking a defender out of his shoes. Like, this would make Devontae Adams proud. Just like, watch this defender just absolutely look like an idiot trying to track Kennedy Chandler off ball. Like, I don't blame him. Like, that doesn't look like a fun thing to do. And again, just the little things of off-ball play setting this little impromptu flare screen off of the ball to get his guy, a pretty good look in transition. It's just those little things that Kennedy's able to do to really make his off-ball game a threat. And it's hard, for a 6-foot guard to really maintain an off-ball game because, off-ball games so often are about cutting and finishing and great shooting. But the speed and the creation tools are really, really special. And it's not like Kennedy, has no real shooting upside. I think there were off-dribble flashes. This is a really impressive pull-up. There are definitely times where he's too hesitant with his shot, and he's just not really, set up to shoot off of the dribble. But I think the off-ball shot's probably more important for Kennedy anyways, which he's better at. This speed obviously is really great in the pick and roll, where he's not perfect in his pacing. He's not perfect in his reads, and he's not perfect in picking his spots, but he has the tools to cover for it. Again, defenses will go under him at this stage, which is not good, but Kennedy can still punish them with his speed. And it's not just his speed, it's the finishing craft as well, which is really impressive, using the long strides and a little off-arm scoop to drop that one in. And I say that, his finishing numbers were not that great. This is pretty good for a small guard prospect, as we'll get to, almost 60%. Sharif was a way worse finisher than that, for example. But there's such an uphill battle to be able to finish at the rim, but Kennedy's tools are certainly impressive. Again, he is just able to slice defenses in the pick and roll with his speed and with his change of speed. That is really what he does best as a creator outside of the speed, is his ability to stop and start, because you just can't, you can't stick with him. The little things, again, using the off arm to shield off a defender. Plays like this for a player of Kennedy's size, where the margins are so slim, can be the difference between makes and not makes. And Chandler does that really, really well a lot of the time. Again, we see the speed going downhill. We see some speed to power, some deceleration as well, which is going to be a big component of his scoring game if it ends up working out. As someone who's able to be blinding going downhill and then stop on a dime and throw a defender's momentum away, and allow Kennedy to finish as well. We see the same kind of pick and roll pacing into a floater here, where these are the kind of flashes you really want to see him develop. The intermediate game is not super polished, and shots like this are always going to be really difficult. Look how smothered this is, even at college. This is going to be even more smothered in the league. But Kennedy being able to hit these with some kind of consistency is going to be huge for him. And then, of course, the speed is going to aid his pick and roll passing, as defenses just have to commit to his drives, and that'll open up easy pocket passing windows. And when it comes to the easy pocket passing windows, I think he's going to be fine on reads like this, an empty side, secondary pick and roll. It's nothing crazy, but I think when you have someone of Kennedy's speed and that he's going to be able to add high-value passes elsewhere, this is definitely just a nice value add, even if he's not making really complex pick and roll reads. And like I've said, Kennedy has a lot of really impressive tools, as we've seen, but the competition is steep. If we look at just the history of drafted guys 6'1" or under, it's a lot of busts, and just a lot of non-NBA players, and the ones who did tend to have something very special, Kemba's pull-up crossover we'll get into. But I'm not counting guys like Davion and Eric Bledsoe and Donovan Mitchell, who are functionally so much taller than they actually are because of their wingspans and stuff. Obviously you have Isaiah Thomas, one of the best small players of all time, who was just so outlier in his strength and his shot creation. Was able to hit tough shots like this all the time. Was an elite tough shot maker in the NBA. And again, was able to use that strength of his. He was so built, even shorter than Kennedy, but was so strong in his upper body and his lower body as well. Able to throw away contact like that. And, those kind of plays really aided his finishing. And even then, his stuff in college wasn't that amazing. He wasn't an incredible shooter. He wasn't an incredible finisher by any means. As you see, his finishing for small guards, 67 at the rim, is really, really great. As you see, the majority of these guys are going to be around, 57, 56, which is kind of par for the course for guards of this size and this general stature. But even then, Isaiah Thomas was the 60th pick and was an absolute long shot because of his size, and I think would have been hard to project as an MVP level player coming out of college. Kemba Walker, another undersized guard who was able to become a star that I think would have also been really hard to project coming out of college. He wasn't really exceptional at anything. Like the burst was solid, but as you can kind of see, like it just looks a lot slower than the stuff we even saw from Kennedy Chandler. And like take a play like this and just like watch the level of speed that Kennedy can get to here, and then we'll compare it to the play that Kemba just had in the tournament in his college season. It's just not the same. And that's not to say Kemba is slow at all or was slow as a prospect. It's just, I think more as a sign of Kennedy's elite speed. But obviously Kemba Walker turned into one of the best pull-up shooters in the league, able to stop on a dime with forward or backwards momentum, with great footwork, and of course one of the best ever at using his handle to set up his shots, to get in and out of moves, and to use those signature step backs to get into his shots. And even then, like it took so much outlier development for Kemba to reach his ceiling and become like an all-NBA level player. And again, for every one Kemba or Isaiah Thomas like that, there are 5 or 10 of these players who don't work out. Like Russ Smith was a really unbelievable athlete in college. A guy who at 6 foot could like get up and bang, has never been able to find a home in the NBA. Shane Larkin, again, maybe the best shooter in the world, not in the NBA, and is probably someone who would like be good in the NBA if he came over now, but doesn't seem like he's going to do that. Wasn't able to stick in the league in his time with the Celtics and other teams as well, despite his just unbelievable shooting and shot making. And then you have a guy like Malachi Flynn, who, again, the jury is still very much out on him, but it seems like he's really struggling to, be so effective in the pick and roll as he was in college with his great craft and pacing, just because the size and the speed of the NBA has been so much for him, and has been, quite the adjustment so far. And then another guy who the jury, definitely is not on, but Cassius Winston, one of the, the best shooters in college basketball over his time, and just an unbelievable, audacious passer. Has struggled to find a footing in the league. Again, like for these last 2 guys, it is still very much possible for them to work out. But point being, like even with really exceptional outlier skills, it is tough to make it at this size in the league. Tremont Waters is another one I really loved, who was so good at basically everything and just was so small and couldn't figure it out. So why am I bringing this all up? This is probably going to make me sound more skeptical than I am. I think the road is hard for Kennedy Chandler. The road is going to be difficult, and it is going to require outlier development we probably don't expect from his college tape if he's going to really stick in the league. But he has outlier special traits that even some of the players who really ended up sticking in the league, like Fred VanVleet is an example, didn't really have in college. I think because of the speed and the off-ball play, there is an immediate role for him in the league, even if it's in spurts or in the G League. And maybe that, allows the team to nurture him into, a really deadly kind of second or third guard who works off of ball, he shoots, he passes. Like defensively, like many of these small guards, like Kennedy's actually a quite good defender when you don't consider his size. He's really quick, great at getting through screens, active off ball, great hands, awesome in the passing lanes. Again, you see his like really, really high steal rate as well. It's very, very impressive. Like probably one of the highest out of any of these guys, honestly. I haven't checked this as well, but like the hill is so steep for players of that size because they're so easy to pick on. Yeah, I mean he'd be easily one of the highest with guys who like Tremont Waters was an awesome defender in college and just wasn't able to parlay it into defensive success in the league. That is small players. Kennedy Chandler is someone I really love and I really hope gets a shot. And even though I think he's more likely than not to not be able to stick in the league, the upside he has makes me want to swing at him, in the mid first, I think, or 20s, even late teens. I think he's probably worth a pick there.